to Finlos Lives. It's been a wild ride in our neck of the woods, so I thought I'd begin this episode with what will likely be a new recurring feature called Greetings from Florida. And the topic of this edition of Greetings from Florida is called When Politics and Education Mix. Yes, when politics and education mix. It's probably never good. So, just a few quick updates if you haven't been keeping up with the news. Well, Governor DeSantis has pushed the Department of Education here in Florida to, both through policy and through pressure on local districts, to how do we even say this? Really to scare teachers. And this is coming in a few different ways. At the public school level, there are policies now regarding how teachers can, or rather cannot, discuss woke issues, as he likes to frame it. And this is really talking about gender identity issues and racial politics issues. And so the language that he so often uses, and that people of this mindset often uses, these are conversations of indoctrination, that, oh my God, our teachers are trying to indoctrinate our youth to think these woke ideologies, that they're grooming our children to be gay or trans or bi, or that they're brainwashing white kids to hate themselves because all of these horrible things happened in our past. And it's ridiculous because, well, there's lots of reasons why, but let's just talk about a few specific things that have happened in the state recently. Teachers all across the state are being instructed to register all of their books in classrooms. This is mostly for elementary teachers, but middle and high school teachers have books in their classroom libraries as well. But these teachers have to register their books so that they can be vetted and approved. The librarians at all of these schools now have to go through regular annual training based so that they can learn how to properly vet books so that they're not inappropriate for class. So what teachers are doing is they're just pulling their books off the shelves, and in sometimes more dramatic fashions, they are taking banner paper and poster paper and just covering their bookshelves. And of course, the kids are upset by this, and they're writing supportive messages and everything like that. But it really doesn't matter because, of course, a kid is only going to write a supportive message because they've been brainwashed by the teacher, right? So that doesn't really matter what the kids think. We can't trust them. This fear stems from the fact that by policy, any parent at any time can raise a concern about any teacher. And that's it, right? This teacher is teaching this book in their class and I don't like it. And that parent then has the right to sue the teacher. There's legal risk to it. So yeah, of course teachers are going to be scared. And then, on a more personal note, this happened in local news for me and for people here in Tallahassee, but it relates to me personally. My old school, I was the teacher sponsor for the Gender Sexuality Alliance. And for those who, I'll just say that a lot of people have really misunderstood how student organizations should and generally do function in public schools. teachers are not allowed to request that these clubs or organizations get started. Students have to go to the administrators and request that these organizations are started. These are student-run organizations. Teachers are present as facilitators. They are present to, if there's like dues that go along with it, they collect the money and turn in the money. But the teachers are there as guides. They're there to answer questions and to facilitate things. But the kids are really in charge. And so the Gender Sexuality Alliance at my old school, we were a club that were there to really empower and to answer questions and deliver information and offer resources. But mostly it was for community, because it's hard enough to be part of the LGBTQ plus community in an unfriendly environment, especially since Florida is becoming more and more unfriendly. And so part of the way that we did that was every school organization has the opportunity to request an information board on campus where you can post meeting information, dates, events that are coming up, etc. So the GSA had a board, and the president of the GSA 3 years ago, created this very well-designed, elegant, clean-looking board that was in no way inappropriate, that offered definitions of some terms, that gave information about meeting information. It was there for years, and there was never a complaint. But apparently, when there was a school event that was open to other schools in the community, specifically a private school, more specifically a private religious school, one of the parents from that other school saw this information board, took some pictures, and I've also understood that they were taking pictures of the Black History Month information boards as well. But they specifically went after the Gender Sexuality Alliance board because it used the word bisexual, and it says that we exist, bisexuals exist. And they forwarded their photographs that they took of this board to a local, and I'm using air quotes even if you can't see them, newspaper, which is really just an online news blog, complaining about how dare this school allow its teachers and its clubs to be indoctrinating students about these inappropriate issues. Needless to say, it was upsetting. Former students were contacting me, telling me how upset they were, letting me know that this is absurd. Teachers were in contact with me because I was the former sponsor, and they just wanted to let me know to keep me in the loop. And it's truly, truly upsetting. And so, thankfully, a lot of members of the community were actually publicly commenting about how this sort of policing of information is really problematic. And of course, this is happening all over the place. You know, big in the news was a public university here in Florida called New College. Governor DeSantis seated his own friendly board members onto the New College Board of Governors, I believe it's what it's called. And these 6 people who are extremely friendly to his ideas about wokeness. Let me backtrack a little bit, because New College is one of these, I don't know, how do people call it? It's like it's a hippie college, right? It's famous for having students who walk around barefoot and they don't have grades. So it's one of these extremely high-performing liberal arts schools where they have the highest quality educators and the highest quality students, but because of its progressive ideologies, because of how it is open and encourages questions and encourages curiosity and encourages exploration of controversy, DeSantis decided that this is where we're going to go. So, and what I can only assume was a planned overthrow, these 6 installed college governors, or whatever, I don't even know what the term is, but they voted to overthrow the president of New College, and they're putting in their own in their place. And students were not allowed to go into the hearings. And I have several friends who are teachers at New College, and let me read one of their responses. This is a quote. "Things feel surreal down here. We are doing what we do best, loving our community, teaching, burning bright. But it's scary. A new student said yesterday to me a sentence I used to whisper verbatim when I first got my job here. I'm so happy here and afraid to show it because someone might take it away." End quote. And that's it's heartbreaking. I wish that was the end. There's more, because we can talk about AP African American History. This was a new course that's being offered by College Board. No, can't teach that in Florida because it's too woke. It talks about slavery. It talks about systemic racism, and these things apparently don't exist. What are you afraid of? This is the question that I just keep asking myself. What are you afraid of? I got an email from my younger daughter's school just this morning. Their school has a program where parents can volunteer to come into the class and read a book to the class, but it's a surprise. It's a secret reader where, parents come in, they surprise their kids, and they read a book, and it's harmless and it's fun, and kids love it. No, not anymore. I got an email this morning from the teacher that says, from now on, all books must be sent in ahead of time for vetting. So that way, no inappropriate books will be read to classes. What are we going to read in a public forum? Like, I have to laugh because what else am I going to do? So, there you have it. That's your greeting from Florida. Be sure to come visit us sometime soon. I'm sure you want to. I'm sure that you see the welcome mat welcoming you, right? I will keep the news rolling as it comes in. To switch topics to something hopefully a little bit more fun and a little bit more positive. Eva and I were reminiscing just yesterday, actually, about our lives when we first moved in together here in Tallahassee. And like most college students, we didn't have much money, and we often ate fast food, and we loved Subway, right? Everybody loves fresh baked bread. It was awesome. And you pay your $5 or $6 or whatever, and you basically get 2 sandwiches, right? That foot long is way more than a foot, and so you can basically get 2 meals. So there was a location that we preferred. It was right on the edge of campus. There were a couple of locations that were way closer to our house that we could have gone to, but this was our favorite because this one was where Julio worked. And Julio was great. He was a Latinx guy from Miami. He was about our age, and because of that Miami connection, we had some common background. We had a common rhythm to our speech, and he was always smiling. And so after a few visits, we coincidentally just happened to come in during his work schedule. We asked him his name, and we became regulars. And so as regulars, he knew what we liked. And I do this thing where at restaurants, I like to ask servers or food preparers, like, what are their favorite things on the menu or whatever. And so I want a couple of times we would go into Subway, and I would usually get the same thing, but I would ask Cooley, like, hey, what about this? What do you think of this? and he would very, very gently redirect me back to the safe stuff on the menu. You don't want to eat that. You stick with the safe stuff. Because the lunch meats and the fresh veggies were cycled very rapidly throughout the day, because those were the most popular things. So Evan and I would always have a good laugh when we would see Julio, and we were thinking about this yesterday, and we were trying really hard. We didn't remember his name right away, but we were trying really hard. And Eva came up with it. She dug it up from old dormant memories, and Julio, that was it. And it was great because we were able to just kind of relive those moments from a while ago, and some happy memories. But then she was thinking, and she made this really cool observation. And she was like, and I'm paraphrasing. Julio was such a disruptor. He was such a warrior against capitalism. And she was right. And in his own little way, he was, because once we became regulars and once we were kind of friendly, and we would always joke with him, we learned about his little brother who he was taking care of. We took the time to get to know him a little bit, and so he would make us these amazingly ginormously stuffed sandwiches. So like if I would get the Italian sandwich, it has ham and pepperoni, like he would throw triple the ham and 20 slices of pepperoni on it, and he would never even ask any questions. That was just his way of showing his appreciation for kindness. Like his way of showing kindness to people who had shown him kindness. And that is truly disruptive. It is, because it was done without any sort of real expectation of anything in return in terms of what we could have to offer him. And instead, it was just it was just appreciation for people who were kind and courteous and treated him like a human being instead of just the next worker on the line. And okay, is it silly to think about, oh my God, Julio, such an economic disruptor? Like, no, it's not silly, because we should always be thinking about how we can make things better. And he was able to buck the capitalist machine by giving more than was prescribed without thought to his risk or his consequence, right? He could lose his job if his managers were being sticklers. And instead, he chose to show mutual care and mutual aid for those in his community. That is huge. And so much energy is put into like, what is radical? Or what will make the biggest amount of noise or draw the most attention, get the biggest headlines. But the machine works to drown out the loud noise. A loud noise here, a loud noise there. Those losses, they're baked into the insurance policy. But what happens when every individual bucks the machine with tiny ripples of love and care? And those tiny ripples, they can be sustained over time. Right? Not these huge, violent waves, but tiny ripples sustained over time. This also relates to a different but tangentially connected conversation we had about how maintenance isn't sexy. This is not my idea or quote, and is coming to me through Eva via something she read online, but the idea itself is something that she has expressed to me numerous times in much more nuanced terms relating to relationships, and how relationships with people are not dissimilar to the relationships we have to tasks or work, or even disruptive radical actions. Everyone wants the headlines, the cheers, the attention of making the new thing, or achieving the big goal, or planning the best first date. But once that happens, little attention is paid to what comes after to maintain that momentum, let alone who did all the work leading up to the success. So, after the new thing is made, who maintains the upkeep? After the goal is met, who does the paperwork? After the new relationship energy is spent, who keeps planning the quality time? Too often, it is the workers, the laborers, especially people of color, and even more especially femfolk. So, here's to Julio, for both doing the work of keeping himself afloat financially while still finding his own way to disrupt the economic machine. I hope wherever you are still finding your way. That's it for this episode. If you have comments, questions, or suggestions for future episodes, please contact me via social media or email me at finloslives@gmail.com or leave a voice message via the SpeakPipe app at finloslives.com. I look forward to our next conversation.